Risk-taking is a detailed, analytical process and includes extensive risk mitigation. We are not a risk-taking, but rather a risk-mitigating institution. Risk mitigation is not guessing. It is a thoughtful, detailed, analytical process that leads to measured decision making. We deeply analyze everything so that we can shoulder appropriate risk for and with our clients. My name is Zachary, and the following is a statement from JP Morgan Chase in their Investor Relations Annual Report for the 2018 year. This video, we're going to be talking about mitigation theory. What is it? What does it mean? And why do these large institutions, smart money, have the opportunity to win far more than their losses? In the foreign exchange market, an industry that turns over multiple trillions of dollars each day, we have the central banks, the hedge funds, the market makers, financial institutions, institutional investors, and all these various participants. The central banks, for example, are extremely important. They have the opportunity to participate in the foreign exchange market to align currencies to their economic needs. Not only do the central banks have control over things like interest rates, but they also control the money. If they believe more currency needs to be in circulation, similar to what we're seeing with the Federal Reserve, they will simply print currency on demand. If they ever feel like they've overdone it, they can, of course, unprint money as well and remove it from circulation. The idea of creating currency can be quite complex, but I want you to know there are charts that allow us to track the money supply. Coming back to risk mitigation theory, however, what we're going to talk about right now is how the top tier interbank market accounts, such as JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, are able to account for more than half of the daily transactional volume. And at the same time, while they are participating with this capital in the foreign exchange markets, how is it that they're able to manage their risk so carefully that, at least from what we can see, it's very infrequently that they take losses? According to Goldman Sachs, in their annual report, their Form 10-K in 2018, there's a statement here that says, we may incur losses as a result of ineffective risk management processes and strategies. If we take a glance, however, a little bit further down within the data that they're reporting, and I want you to bring your attention to this specific chart. The daily net revenues for their positions. If we take a look at the number of trading days in a single year, and if we were to go and take a look to the right hand side of the graph. These days are when their daily net revenue was in the positive. The days to the left is when their daily net revenue was in the negative. So we can clearly see there is a very large difference between the level of profitability, where on the extreme side, their daily net revenue was greater than 100 million for 12 trading days of the year. And on the extreme left-hand side, they did not incur a single day where they lost more than 100 million. We take a look at the next number. There was one day where the Goldman Sachs financial institution lost between 75 and 100 million. Back to the right, 22 trading days where Goldman Sachs made between 75 and 100 million for their daily net revenue. So 56 days to 1, 6 days to 66. 64 days where they had a daily net revenue of 0 to 25 million, to only 23 days with a negative daily net revenue of 0 to 25 million. If it was just one institution that was able to position themselves in the market in such a way where their risk was very, very minimal, then there wouldn't be too much to say about this idea of risk mitigation. However, taking a look at Bank of America's filing for the 2018-2019 year, bring your attention down to the following statement. The histogram is a graphic depiction of trading volatility and illustrates the daily level of trading-related revenue for 2019 and 2018. During 2019, positive trading revenue was recorded for 98% of the trading days, of which 80% were daily trading gains of over 25 million. Their largest loss was 35 million. Compared to 2018, where their positive trading-related revenue was recorded for 98% of the total trading days, of which 79% were daily trading gains of over 25 million. Similar to what we looked at in Goldman Sachs data, if we start by taking a look all the way at the left-hand side, we have a light gray box representing 2018 and a dark gray box representing 2019. We have the number of days compared to the daily net revenue in millions of dollars. For Bank of America, we can see very few trading days where there was a loss between 50 to 25 million for 2019. In 2018, it seems as if there was not a single day where their losses exceeded that 25 million threshold. There were a couple of days in both years where their losses were somewhere between 0 to 25 million. Then we start to get into the positive. Decent amount of days with net gains of 0 to 25 million. A very large surge for both 2018 and 2019, where Bank of America was able to generate between $25 to $50 million in a single trading day. Few days where they were able to generate 50 to 75 million, a few days where they could generate 75 to 100, and of course a few days where their profits were greater than 100 million. When the stats are right in front of us, open to the public, where anybody can find these mandatory SEC filings that the institutions submit each and every single year. Seeing numbers like this, it makes you wonder, what is it that gives these institutions the advantage? What is it that allows these players to be smart money and actually have power and influence over price movement to begin with? I personally believe that the risk management and risk mitigation strategies that the banks use when they are participating in the markets are implemented in such a way where for the majority of the trading days, as we can see, there are very little losses. The institutions have so much money at their fingertips that they can afford to allow the market to go against them. Maybe just for a little bit, perhaps for longer. These institutions have the capital and margin power to sustain drawdown, to even go as far as manipulating price, rigging the rates to take advantage of the most amount of people at any given time. Sure, they'll get faced with a fine. As we've seen throughout history, time and time again. Mitigation theory. The individuals that are moving the market have such large amounts of money that they can afford to sit in drawdown. They can afford to intentionally push the price in one direction just to stop you out prior to allowing the market to move where they originally wanted. These risk management and risk mitigation strategies that the institutions and other smart money participants display may not be ethical, but in a game where we simply play the probabilities, fully aware and fully understanding that we can lose money, you need to think. When it comes down to these institutions, even though they boast very high winning percentages, during those times where they occasionally incur losses, we're talking about millions of dollars. For a successful retail participant that has allowed themselves to learn and develop to a point where they have aligned with a smart money mindset, they developed a level of proficiency to where they can act, entering and exiting the market without fear, managing their positions in such a way where they are positioned alongside smart money rather than trading against them. You have to realize there is more than enough money in these markets. And the numbers that we're talking about, remember, the institutions only make up just over half of all market participation. Big money does not mean smart money. There are some very large investors out there that have access to plenty of capital, but they would still be labeled as dumb money. The misinformed, the uneducated. And there are people out there that have smaller amounts, that are in the process of growing their capital, but have allowed themselves to shift into a smart money mindset like you're currently in the process of doing now, and have allowed themselves to be positioned for success. If you have ever experienced a time where the market has just so conveniently stopped you out only to run in your anticipated direction, and then it just so happens to come all the way back to where that stop hunt happened prior to continuing in the anticipated direction, you have experienced this manipulation. And if you have ever taken a position only to find yourself in drawdown, and then when the market comes back to revisit the price point where you originally got in, you felt like it was necessary to reduce the severity of your pain sitting in that drawdown for all of those moments. So you cut your position, you get out. When given the choice of sitting in drawdown or being allowed to get out of a losing position at or near break even, what do you think most people would choose to do? Continue to suffer the pain or get out? And remember, everything that happens in the market is a buy or a sell.